It is time to get aristocratic up in here. Hello everyone, and today this happened.
Look guys, we got sword fighters over here. The shields, they're pretending to be knights just like Don Quixote. That man doesn't have his shirt on. Goodness.
You all might notice that I am not speaking in my usual voice, but in the voice of Sir Charles from She Stoops to Conquer, a play at Frostburg State University. The reason why I'm doing this is because my drama teacher asked me to do an entire video with one of the accents, and I thought, you know what, I don't usually get demands from people to make a particular episode, so I might as well go ahead and try. Now, I can't say for sure whether I'll be able to get every word right in that accent, but, you know, the odds of my drama teacher actually watching this episode are pretty slim. I mean, consider the billions of hours of video out there. The odds of her clicking on my exact one it's impossible, basically, just impossible. So I think we're safe. It doesn't matter how I do the accent. But anyways, I thought this episode could be just me talking with you all, my Seth Lewis family. Just a little conversation with us, and I wanted to tell you all about my experience working on the play and working at Frostburg State University. This wasn't my first play. I've probably about 15 or something like that, somewhere in those numbers. So I'm not really like this new guy coming into this new world, but I will admit there was a lot of differences from other theaters that I have been a part of, and a lot of those differences were very positive. There were some negatives, but also some very positives, and I thought I'd go ahead and tell all of those first. Of course, the biggest positive was the people that I got to work with. They were a very nice group. I was actually surprised. I wasn't expecting them to be quite like they were. If I were to describe it, I think the best analogy I could give you were they were kind of like those nuns from The Sound of Music. I don't know if you all watched that movie. It was the story of that nun who met this guy, and she ends up leaving the nunnery and basically marrying him, and then they run away from Nazis. But it's a very beautiful story. Definitely read about it. It's a true story, and it's also a film. But anyways, it was basically going into the theater was kind of like that. They were a very quiet group, just kind of like very modest, and didn't really well, there wasn't much lewdness, you know. And I go up, and I was really surprised with how they choose to display their emotions, because, you know, the few times they did talk, it was usually by singing, you know. If they were having a bad day, they would have a little song about it, and I was always a little confused at first. I would stop and look around and wonder why everyone was starting to dance and sing along with this person, and I thought maybe it was some kind of initiation thing, but eventually I got used to it and just realized that was how they chose to display their emotions. Of course, I did have a little bit of trouble. There was one time I was doing some carpentry work actually, because we were working on the stage, and I said, damn. And there was this girl, Rachel, and she looked at me, and she was like shocked. And I looked at her for a moment, and then she ran over and she whispered into Atamu's ear, and Atamu kind of looked at me, and he just had this shocked expression on his face, like he couldn't believe that I, of all people, would say something like that. And basically the entire theater was a little bit like, kind of like, what's going on here? Why did it, what? And, but eventually it cleared up, and basically nothing else came of it. You know, if I were to say there was one person in the entire group that wasn't that way, it was probably Austin. Austin, well, I shouldn't really give away his name. I'll go ahead and give away his name. Austin was a lot like Rocky from those Rocky movies. He had this sort of like, hey, how's it going? And just sort of like this kind of, it was a little bit threatening, but he had this sort of like will to do things. You know, he's like, hey, we're gonna go out there and we're gonna do this. We're gonna crap lightning. Everything's gonna be great. And farting thunder too. He was a farting thunder kind of guy. But it was a very, very good group of people to work with. The theater space was very beautiful too, very easy. The one thing I had a little bit of trouble figuring out the blocking. I think that would be a negative. But other than that, I think the best experience for me personally was getting to actually play the characters. I would like to consider myself to be at least a good actor. Since I've done like 219 episodes, I'd like to think that I had some kind of talent. I will admit that I'm probably a better storyteller than I am actor. And I say that like storytelling's up here, and I hope that acting would be pretty close to that. But yeah, I am a pretty good storyteller, I'll admit that. Probably better, and I probably like it more than acting. But I think I did a pretty good job playing Sir Charles. It was weird because I'm so used to doing things on film, which is a lot different from stage. Like, if I was, like, playing Sir Charles, I immediately start thinking about how it's best to express his emotions. So, like, if he's feeling, like, really angry or confused, I'd give him this kind of look. That would be how I do that. And then, or maybe, like, if he was really, like, afraid, it'd be like this. And, or if it was Roger, I'd be like... And then when I'm playing the drunkard, it's a more sort of happy, loud sort of feeling, like, hey, I'm here to party! And just basically getting the song completely wrong in order for it to be right, basically. And it was not hard for me to sing wrong. That was actually pretty easy. But a lot of funny moments, too. There was this inside joke we had. I likes the maxim of it, which was one of my lines, and everybody was saying that, and tickled my arse with a barley straw, which arse is not a cuss word, so I suppose they were okay with that. And just a lot of funny moments. They were a funny group of people, honestly, whenever they finally did talk. But there were, I think, probably the biggest negative for me, and I'm going to go ahead and criticize Frostburg. I would say that the productions might need a little bit more ambiguity. I've noticed that very rarely will you see a play done with any ambiguity, and I think the reason why that is that the teachers, you know, if a bunch of students are coming up to you and they're like, hey, what does this mean? How am I supposed to feel? They feel the obligation to give you some kind of explanation. They have got to be like, well, you've got to feel this way, you've got to feel that. And, you know, there's not really, there's certain texts that works for, but others, like Hamlet or something like that, that there's just, it's supposed to be a mystery. So I do feel like it's not a very inviting place for ambiguity, but either than that, I really enjoyed working on the play. It was a lot of fun, and let's end off with, I likes the maxim of Master Muggins, or tickle me arse with a barley straw. Oh, hey, so that is actually not the end of the episode. There was a couple of things that I wanted to show you all. These are all gifts from my sister, and the first thing that I've got here is this bat. I'm not exactly sure what this thing is in. It's like in a glass container, but I'm not sure like what kind of stuff they got in there to keep it preserved and keep it standing up like that. But on the back here it says, sold by Obscura, Antiques and Oddities, New York City. So this thing is really cool. It like glows in the dark too, but I won't be able to show you that because my camera won't pick up the light. But I also got here this box, and in this box is a fidget cube. So basically, I don't know if any of you've seen this before, but this is a cube, and all these things on here are things you can fidget with. But you know what? I am actually going to talk about this on another episode. Well, we're going to save this for later, actually. I assure you that will be another episode. But anyways, this is Sir Charles saying, may the show go on. May the show go on.